Welcome to the Workforce Connections podcast, where we discuss workforce development in Southern Nevada. Here's your host.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the WC podcast. As you can see, this is our very first one in this brand new studio at the beautiful Las Vegas Civic Center. And what better guest could we have for the first episode than USA bestselling author, worldwide traveler, and ambassador of our city, Las Vegas. If you ever watch his video that is now viral called Before You Call It Cops, he says that this city of Las Vegas still has his heart.
Well, thank you very much, my friend. Is this how formal is this going to be?
Not formal at all.
Not at all?
It's Tyler Merritt style. Okay. Easy.
So do we tell people that there's alcohol in these?
Yeah, yes, we can say that.
I'm just kidding. It's water.
So Tyler, obviously I've gotten to know you because of Jerry, who we love here at Workforce Connections. He's our immediate past chair. We'll talk later about all the titles you have given her. But to get us started, for those who might not know Tyler Merritt, tell us what it was like to grow up here in Las Vegas. Tell us about the schools you went to and how that shaped you. And then we'll talk about your career after that.
Okay, so I love this city. And even though I was born in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and then I lived for a very small amount of time in Alaska, I moved here my parents moved here in 1982, the summer of 1982. And Las Vegas to me is my hometown. It's the place that I've known. I went to J.E. Manch Elementary School out by Nellis Air Force Base, Jim Bridger Junior High School, and I went to Rancho for 3 years and then transferred to the Las Vegas Academy and was the first graduating class at the Las Vegas Academy. So my heart, as far as growing up as a kid, all of my stories come from here in Las Vegas. And so Las Vegas, I'm not casual about Las Vegas. It's very weird to me now that you all are a hockey town because I didn't get to experience really any professional sports. I come from the UNLV Running Rebels Tarkanian days. Wow. So it's a special place. My dad served at Nellis Air Force Base for years and years. And I remember very clearly, my father and my mother going to the NCO club. And I was, I think maybe fifth grade. And my dad was looking to transfer to another Air Force base. And I started crying there at the table at the NCO club. And, they asked me why I was crying. And I just thought, I couldn't imagine moving. I couldn't imagine leaving Las Vegas, even though Nellis is such a transient place. It's what everybody does, I, in that moment, was like, this is home to me. And my father said, okay, I'll put in for an extension. I remember that one time him saying, I'll put in for an extension. And they still live here. Yeah. So that tells you kind of how connected I am to this place.
And I love how it comes out, Tyler, in the events I've seen you at. Of course, this week you were here, but last year your mom invited us to the one where you did in your alma mater. Yeah. And you brought out your classmate. You've been friends forever with her, and you guys talked about these experiences that are in the first book. Mm-hmm. So I think even when one gets to know you through your writing, there's a lot of Las Vegas in there.
100%. I can't help but to write about Las Vegas, even when I try not to. It just comes out of who I am. And I don't think I've ever said this on camera before, but I really feel this way. There is something special about kids who grew up in Las Vegas. We're built different. We just are. And I feel the same way about kids that grew up in New York City. Kids who grew up in Chicago, kids who grew up in Southern California, like LA, and really kind of a lot of places in California. We're just built different. And you notice it when you leave. I remember when I moved to go to college in Santa Cruz, somebody said to me, "You're from Las Vegas." I didn't realize how special this city was, but it was around the time, I don't know if you remember the TV show The Real World on MTV. They did a Real World Las Vegas, and I was watching that show thinking to myself, oh my God, that's where I grew up. That's crazy. I can't believe that is where I grew up at. But when you grow up here, you don't realize it. But what happens is when you leave, that drive that Las Vegas kids have, that thing that wakes you up in the morning to be better, that's a Las Vegas centric thing. And when you move out into the rest of the world, you begin to feel that because you can look around and sometimes see that maybe not the rest of the world has it like that.
Yeah. I always feel it when I'm somewhere and they say, last call.
Right. I didn't know what last call was.
Right.
I did not know what last call was. That's funny.
Or pharmacies that stay open all night long and things like that. You know, there's so many things different here.
Well, that's also after the pandemic, you know, because I know a lot of things aren't open as much as they are now. When I come home to visit, I'm always like, I need this Walgreens to be open 24 hours. Although that's not normal in the rest of the world.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Tyler, you have many layers: actor, author, musician, activist, cancer survivor, which we're going to talk on, and founder, of course, of the Tyler Merritt Project. And your acting career started, in Las Vegas Academy of Performing Arts. I know you're a Broadway guy because you have the Hamilton shirt on right there. But since those early days, you've had now tremendous recognition through notable acting projects, right? I have some of them here. Netflix's Outer Banks, Marvel's Falcon and the Winter Soldier, NBC's Young Rock, A24's The Inspection, and NBC's Found. And for years, you were also known as the face of the worldwide teaching curriculum, the Gospel Project for Kids. Most people know you from that viral video. Again, that's the first time I saw you online, which has appeared on Jimmy Kimmel, MSNBC, and the New York Times. So my big question is, and we'll talk about the video in a second.
Sure.
But my question is, what is it like to journey into this? Because a lot of people hear about those waiters in California trying to break into the acting industry. But you're not doing that, You're doing pretty well. And what has that acting career been like? How did you get in? Are you still in it? Where are you going?
So I'm a little bit older. I'm about pushing 50 now. And I graduated in 1994. And in 1994, you could not have told me any different that I wasn't going to go to Broadway and do theater and be a Broadway star. And what's funny is when you're in high school and you think about Broadway, you think that these guys are rich. And if you make it to Broadway, you must be a gazillionaire. And now that I'm older, I realize how that is not the case. But back then, I wanted to be a theater actor. And film to me felt weird because I was like, I'm a theater guy. But then I went to college. On a theater scholarship in Northern California, helped build a theater there. But in the midst of that, I accidentally stumbled into music and started a band called Broken Frame. Wow. And this was back in 95 when in my opinion, we had some of the best music, especially rock music, right? That was the time where you had bands, one of my favorite bands, Counting Crows. And back when people used to make full albums. So you had like Counting Crows, August and Everything After, Oasis, What's the Story, Morning Glory, Alanis Morissette, Jagged Little Pill, Hootie and the Blowfish, Cracked Rear View, all these albums that were entire albums, right? Not to mention hip hop and all that. But I moved to Santa Cruz, which was mostly white people. And so even though I grew up on like rap music and gospel music, I moved to this area where band music became a thing. And because I sang, I walked up to this room, saw two people playing guitar, and I was like, hey, I can sing for you guys. And they were two white dudes, and they were like, oh, we're going to be Hootie and the Blowfish. And I didn't know who Hootie and the Blowfish was. And so we just started a band. And similar to that movie, I talked about this in my first book, I Take My Coffee Black, similar to the movie That Thing You Do, where they had that very first concert and they're singing, we played our very first show and people lost their mind. Wow. And I remember standing on stage thinking, there's something besides theater. And with being in a rock band, I could write my own music. So I wasn't singing somebody else's thing. So I could start to create my own stuff. And that began the storyline of dreaming about something different. Mm-hmm. So I left California, and I, again, remember this is clear as daylight. I said to my mom, I called my mom and I said, I think my band wants to move to Nashville, Tennessee. My mom said, okay, do it. You have the heart to do music, go and do it, stop playing around. So I went and talked to the rest of the guys in the band. I was like, I think I want to move to Nashville. This was in 2002. I went to 2 nights before I left to Nashville. I went and met with a friend of mine who we had done theater together there in NorCal, because I'd been also doing theater the whole time as well. We were standing at a Denny's in the Denny's parking lot. And what's so great about this is an encouragement to any young people that are listening to this, or even people that have been around for a while and still have a dream of things. You never know where you're going to go. I'm sitting in the parking lot talking to my friend, and his name is James. And we made this joke about, hey, 20 years from now, I want to be able to look back on this moment at Denny's parking lot and be able to look back and say that we went and did the things that we were dreaming about doing. Him and I met doing a show by Stephen Schwartz, who were at Wicked called Children of Eden. We met there, so we were theater people, but he knew I played music, and he followed me as I did that, and he was still there in the Bay Area doing theater. And we kind of like shook on it. We're like, okay, cool, let's go. He went off his way. I went off my way. I went to go play music and tell stories, and he eventually went to Broadway. He is now a Tony Award-winning actor. He won a Tony Award. His whole name is James Monroe Iglehart. He won a Tony for playing the genie in Aladdin on Broadway. Wow. He has been in Hamilton, Chicago, and Juliet. He is legitimately a Broadway star. And I went off to play music and did everything I did. This is in reference to the starving artist part. Mm-hmm. My starving artist days were in the music days when I was playing music. But then we started to get successful here. Music became the wild, wild west. I decided to take the stories that I was using and start applying them to writing, to communicating what it was like being a Black man in America. And because I had that acting history, I decided to try to go back into film because it seemed a little more lucrative, and it was a way for me to be able to have a bigger voice because I knew that my mom could see me on TV in Las Vegas versus coming to New York and only seeing me one place. So suddenly I took all of those things and started putting them together to become a best-selling author, to do all those things. And I look back now to James and I in that Denny's parking lot. And we joke, to this day, we still joke about how when we were sitting there talking about, let's go make our dreams come true, if someone would have came to us in that parking lot from the future and went, hi, I just want to interrupt you all. First of all, James, not only are you going to make it to Broadway, you are going to win a Tony Award. Wow. And your idols that you have now are going to know your name. James wouldn't have been able to process that. Like we wouldn't have been able to process it. If somebody would have came to me and said, oh, and Tyler, I know you want to go and play music, but you're going to write books, right? And Jimmy Kimmel's going to write the foreword for it. And I'd have been like, Jimmy Kimmel, who's Jimmy? But anyway, Jimmy Kimmel's going to write the foreword for it. And people that you love and adore are going to be huge fans of you, and you're going to work on TV shows. And I just wouldn't have been able to process it. First of all, the idea of writing a book would have been so far away from my mind. But they would have been telling me at that moment, what you're going to do, what your heart is right now, is to tell stories. And that's going to be the kicker of who you are. That's going to be the thing. And I say that mostly as encouragement because I know there are individuals who are watching this or listening to it and thinking to themselves, there are things I want to be. But I would encourage you and say, what you want to be is the bottom of who you can be. And I know people say all the time, follow your dreams. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you continue to grind, you continue to work, you continue to believe that you are more than you can be, and you're prepared for that moment to align when the opportunity comes, that's how we get to where we are. Opportunity mixed with real, honest, true preparation based on the dreams that we have. And then hopefully you can exceed those. That's where I sit now. I wake up daily and I feel like, is this a dream in my life? Am I living a dream that I can come home to Las Vegas and I was out to dinner with my mom recently and some lady next to her was like, is that Tyler over there? But I can come to my hometown now. And people know who I am. It's so special. So I know that was a really long answer.
No,
to your
it's
question,
awesome.
But
I have two follow-ups to that because we're going to talk about the viral video next. But so when you talked about late night in the 90s, was that Arsenio Hall? Who was on TV?
Arsenio Hall, bro. Okay. Listen, Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Okay.
And I used to lock myself, I had times I'm supposed to go to bed, but Arsenio didn't come on until like 11 here in Vegas.
Right.
My mom would send me to bed and I had a TV in my room and I would turn down all the lights and turn on Arsenio, and I would always watch Arsenio late at night, man.
That thing would come up like that.
Yeah.
His shadow.
And he brought, and he used to bring out all the hip hop stars on his show and all of that. Yeah. Before I started a rock band, I wanted to be New Edition, you know what I mean? And Troop and BBD, you know what I'm saying? So that was who I wanted to be before I became
BBD Poison.
BBD Poison.
Wow.
See, look at that.
That's the 90s.
We could kick it.
We could kick it. So the second follow-up was you kept referring to Santa Cruz. Is that University of California, Santa Cruz?
I wish it was.
Oh, okay.
I instead went to a tiny Bible college called Bethany College.
Oh, okay.
That is no longer there.
Oh, okay.
But what's funny is because I was doing theater at the time out of the academy, they will come and recruit you like how they do with football players, right?
Yep.
So. They still do this. Colleges, say for instance, a college wants to do Othello in 2027. They'll come to the academy, tons of kids in audition, and they'll go, oh, there's a young black man who could play Othello in 2027. They'll offer a full ride scholarship to that kid, knowing that they're going to be Othello in their sophomore year.
Senior year. Oh, okay. So they'll groom him.
Exactly. Wow. And it's a fantastic way, like similar to football. So I was a pretty decent theater kid. And so when they came to me, to the academy, I had tons of schools audition me. And big schools, from in New York to AMDA to Cincinnati to all of these schools, to Chapman University in Southern California, that offered me scholarships to come to their schools. And I, instead, wanted to be like my youth pastor at the time. And ended up going to this college he went to, denied all the scholarships that they offered me, and took a very, very small scholarship to go to this small Christian college that didn't really have a theater department. Wow. But I look back now and it changed my life, and I think oftentimes if I would have went somewhere else, where would I have landed? But kind of going to this tiny Christian school, which also tells you you work with what you get.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We might or might not disclose that we might be showing a picture of your high school theater days that your mom might have not shared with us.
I did 8 Misbehavin' here in Las Vegas. It was the first professional show that I had ever done. And I remember the article in the Review Journal at the time said something along the lines of, Tyler Merritt, look out for this young Tyler Merritt. He is soon to be a star, or something like that.
Nice.
Oh man, it's crazy.
I think that's the article we might have or might not have received.
I think you have the when I released I Take My Coffee Black, they released that picture again and did like an updated story of like Las Vegas guy goes big with a book, and it was a follow-up article. Nice. You need to find the OG one. Okay. I think it's on the internet
I know some people that might have it.
That's awesome.
Jerry. So the viral video, because again, that's what, really got you out there. Over 100 million people over the world have seen this video. It was in a time of tremendous tension in our country. Sure. And for your voice, you put yourself out there. And I want you to tell a little bit about not just what the video was about, but what does one know what it takes to make something? Because I want to know that 100 million people want to watch. Yeah.
So I'll start with this funny story, is that in the video, Before You Call the Cops, it's pretty Googleable. So just if you haven't seen it, I have my hair down. I'm bare chested, so I'm not wearing a shirt, and I'm looking directly into camera, and I'm just going through a number of things about me. So it's about a 3-minute video that starts off with me saying, before you call the cops, I just want you to know. And so then I go on to tell these things, right? And they're nothing crazy. It's literally things like, I like basketball and hockey. Or I'll say something like, it was where I talked about Las Vegas. I was like, I love Las Vegas and that city still has my heart. I talk about how I can tell you every single word to the musical Oklahoma, but also every single word to NWA Straight Outta Compton, Now, I'm making this kind of random kind of comparison of, before you call the cops, I want to tell you a little bit about me so that you understand who I am before you just see me as a big black man and decide, whatever it is you might think in your mind, I want you to know who I am. If I had known 100 million people would have seen that, my mom, when she saw it, the first thing she said to me is, boy, why don't you have a shirt on?
I can see that.
And I was like, Mom, if I knew 100 million people were going to see this, I would have put on a shirt. Like, there wasn't a world that I thought it was going to become that big. But the day I put it on the internet, it was a Friday night. I made this 3-minute video. I came back and watched it and edited it a little bit. And this was back in 2016, back when going viral meant if you had 1 million views, you were like, that meant the world saw you, you know? And I did this little video. It was 3 minutes long. I thought it was way too long. It was just me talking to myself. I sent it over to a friend named Lisa, and Lisa sent back a text to me that said, Tyler, this feels holy. It feels, she said, Tyler, this feels holy. And I was like, okay, well, that's a strong adjective. And I took it, I uploaded it onto the internet on a Friday evening, and by Monday, the Huffington Post had contacted me. And they said, this is remarkable. And it started circulating pretty quickly. And at the time, I was just starting the Tyler Merritt Project, was hoping if I get 6,000 views, that would be awesome. By the end of the week, it had some 4 million, 5 million. Wow. And this was at the time where 1 million was viral. Yep. So what was happening is people were watching it so quickly, bro, that I would wake up and I would have messages from China. And they would be asking me questions because there's a part in the video where I say, my parents are from Alabama, so I have to roll Tide. I would have people from China emailing me saying, I love your video, but what's a roll Tide? Right. You know, one of the lines I say in it is, bananas are disgusting. Yeah. It was just a throwaway line. But the way the internet went crazy over me being like, I loved your video, but what do you have against bananas? I'm like, bananas are disgusting, still to this day. Wow. So all of that to say, I don't think there's any way to predict what the internet will do with what you give it, but I will say authenticity matters. And I feel like if you try to create something, people can feel that. And unless you're really, really good at it, I think we just oftentimes kind of go with authenticity. I'll see some of my creator friends who are brilliant put out something that should be life-changing, right? And like you'll watch it and be like, this is the most moving, the deepest thing I've ever seen. This is incredible, right? And then nobody will watch it. And then some kid will come along and be like, I slipped on some ice. And it'll have like 78 million views. Yeah. You know, it's you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, but I love it. Authenticity is what I take away from that. Let's talk about your writing next, because again, you were kind enough to sign some copies for my son and daughter of the books when you were here. You got to meet my daughter now.
Oh, we're friends now.
Yeah. So your first best-selling memoir, I Take My Coffee Black, Reflections on Tupac, Musical Theater, Faith, and Being Black in America. And then, of course, your next book is This Changes Everything, a surprisingly funny story about race, cancer, faith, and other things we don't talk about. And then finally, your children's book, A Door Made for Me. So tell us about this writer journey. How do you just hit home run after home run? Because, you know, everything is hot. How does that happen?
I'll tell you what happened with I Take My Coffee Black, which I loved, is I realized in the midst of all the things that I had done up to that point, be it music, be it theater, be it TV, be it Gospel Project for Kids, working as a youth pastor, all of these things that I had done were all about telling stories, even in my songwriting. You know, I think the thing I loved about it most was you play music and people show up to concerts and you can sing to them and tell them stories. All of it was about storytelling. And it wasn't until after I Take My Coffee Black went viral the second time, after George Floyd passed, that I really evaluated, I really need to maybe think about telling stories on a broader level. And I didn't want to write a book at first because for some reason, I've told this story before, some reason I thought publishers were going to come to me, only Christian publishers. And I didn't want to write a Christian book for a number of reasons. One of the reasons is because even though I am a believer, And this is in my book, so this shouldn't be new to anybody. Even though I am 100% a believer, being a Christian doesn't always necessarily mean to other Christians that you are okay to love everybody. And I love everybody. And if I was going to write a book about that, I wanted to make sure that I communicated that, and I didn't want a Christian publisher to hold me back that way. That means I was going to talk about the LGBTQ community and how I love them. I was going to talk about my regret of how I treated my Mormon friends when I was growing up and going to Rancho as a Christian, thinking I was right. You know, I was going to talk about trans kids. I was going to talk about people from other religions. I was going to talk about a ton of things that fell under the umbrella of love. And when I had a publisher come to me and said, we want you to write a book, I already had the book in my mind. And I spent the first 2 minutes talking to my literary agent saying, I'm not going to write your Christian book. And instead, he was like, no, we just want you to write the book you want to write. And that turned into I Take My Coffee Black, which allowed me to write a memoir that overall explored proximity, explored love, explored faith, but it allowed me to do it in the ways that I can do it, which is through musical theater references, which is through me talking about my blackness, which is through me talking about my love for hip hop and like using Tupac. I used Tupac's death to kind of talk about Las Vegas in a really interesting way. So all of that to say, someone gave me an opportunity to write my first book, and I leaned into it fully, and I put all of myself into it. I tell some stories that don't make me look so great. A reviewer wrote one time, they said, I loved I Take My Coffee Black, but I'll be honest with you, by the time I got about halfway through it, I couldn't tell if Tyler was the antagonist or the protagonist of the story. And they were right. About halfway through, you start asking yourself, do I like this kid? Like, do I like this womanizing, immature person who thinks he knows everything but continues to mess everything up? But in the midst of telling that story, I was able to tell a story about redemption. I was able to tell a story about love, about proximity, about caring. And finally, I was able to tell a story of it doesn't matter what you've done in the world, if people have put you down or if people have said you're worth nothing, you always have something to give the world. And I Take My Coffee Black was about that, about how I kind of came back from that. And it ended up being wildly successful. Thank God Jimmy Kimmel helped with that, where he wrote the foreword, and then he came on the audiobook as well. So I will always be grateful for him because it helped boost it some. But I was lucky with that one. Oh. And I will happily give a quick conversation about the next book too.
Absolutely. I would love to hear that because again, I went last year and heard you break that one down. And I also seen you, I said just this week, how when you say being vulnerable, I mean, I know your mom clinched, but you actually lifted your shirt and showed us your scars.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just emotional vulnerability. You like really took all it off.
I'm at that point now where I tell people I have one less letter in my alphabet. I have 0 F's to give anymore, bro. And so I'm just at that age where this is me, and I think we are all better when we don't have to hide anymore, Yeah. You were even telling me about your family a little bit, I love that you build an environment where your kids don't feel like they have to hide from you, And that's the world that I want to build, that we can have transparency and vulnerability with each other, and we can find loving ways to accept each other. What This Changes Everything, and the subtitle is a surprisingly funny book about race, cancer, faith, and other things we don't talk about. People ask me all the time, and I Take My Coffee Black, you never talked about cancer. I wasn't diagnosed with cancer until after I turned in I Take My Coffee Black. And shortly after, I was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer called liposarcoma, where they found a 28-pound cancerous tumor in my abdomen. And They had to remove that. They removed one of my kidneys. I almost didn't make it out of the surgery. And it was one of the most traumatizing things that I had ever walked through. But it was also, and I know this is such a weird thing to say, it was also one of the funniest, most hysterical, wildly humorous things I had ever walked through. Because there were pockets of humor through that tragedy, but you had to recognize them and see them. And even though I don't think I recognized them at the time, when I went down to write a book about cancer and I started to remember all the very specific moments, I realized how funny so much of what I had walked through was. All the way down to the details of the first time that I met my doctor, Dr. Marcus Tan, who is this 100-pound Asian man from Australia. And so...
With a black name.
With a black name, Marcus. And we're like, so was your name's Marcus? and he walked in and he has an Australian accent. And I'm like, I don't know how to... You look like ChatGPT created you, bro. Like, I don't know how to process who you are. At the time, I don't think it was as funny to me. But as I went back to tell the story and I start explaining and start writing about how, yeah, this little Asian man walked in and told me that he was going to be the person who was going to take this tumor out of me. And I'm telling him, bro, my tumor weighs a quarter of you, bro. Like, this makes, do the math for me. And I also asked him, because I was trying to make a Michael Jordan analogy, because I wanted to make sure that he was going to be the Michael Jordan of this surgery. Like, are you the best at this? And so I asked him, I was like, do you play sport, or do you like sports? He was like, I love sports. And I was like, okay, what's your favorite sports? And he goes, oh, my favorite sport is cricket. And at the time, I remember being angry because I knew my analogy wasn't going to work. But in retrospect, it was so funny that here I am, this big black man trying to make this Michael Jordan analogy, like, I need you to be Michael Jordan. He was like, but I like cricket. And I realized, like, there was so much humor in the building up to the scariest moment of my life, all the way up to the realization that I was masking my fear with humor. There's a moment in the book where I talk about my mother being with me right before the surgery, and I take a picture with her. And I take that picture because what I had said to her was, I need you to go ahead and take a picture because it might be the last one we ever take. And the nurse hit me on the shoulder. Like that, yeah. Right. Her nurse hit me on the shoulder and was like, boy, if you don't stop playing around. To me, I was having this funny moment that was masking this fear. Yep. And I realized that I can't be the only one who's ever walked through cancer who's felt this way. And what I've learned with This Changes Everything is I'm far from being alone in this. I get emails and text messages on the daily from people that say, even though I don't have cancer, your book allowed me to see what the joy of life should be. Your book allowed me to see that I can find the light in the dark. I can find the humor in the absolutely unfunny. And that if I'm still here, I still have a purpose in the world. So I get a chance to write these books that can be hopefully so much more than just one thing. And then, of course, all of these things are taken from my Black 6'2" experience mixed in with my love for musical theater and my love for pop culture. So, you know, and all of the chapters have names. And basketball, I talk about so many things to the point where one of the chapters in my book, all the subtitles are Taylor Swift song references. You know what I mean? Like my editor just lets me do whatever. I think one of the chapters is titled "Why Do You Write Like You're Running Out of Time," which is a Hamilton reference. Yeah. So it's filled with all of those things that are me. So
you got to tell the part, because there's redemption in the basketball story, because your next doctor, the analogy did work. Because you asked that other doctor, you know, and he brought up Michael's, you know.
Scottie Pippen.
Yeah, tell that one.
Well, the next doctor that I met, I had to meet a doctor right before I went to surgery. His name was Dr. Barakis. And when he told me that that he was in the room because I could end up being on a bag for the rest of my life, I could die, they could cut certain things. Because I was wondering, why do I need a urologist appointment? And he was like, this, you know, he tells me all the reasons. And so I asked him, I was like, okay, bro, do you like sports? In my mind, I'm going, I need to know that you're the Michael Jordan too. And he automatically goes, of course I love basketball. I was like, well, I told Dr. Tan he needs to be Michael Jordan. He was like, well, that means I need to be Scottie Pippen. Yeah. And I was like, my dude, my dude. And
in game 6,
you know, he went and did a little bit of studying on me and who I was. And he came back the next day and said, Tyler, you are so important in the world. He was like, I want you to know I'm going to be Scottie Pippen game 6 in there. And again, in the moment, it was nothing. But when I went to go write it, the way people have reacted to that moment in the book of me telling that story, when I was in it, it didn't feel any significant. But when I was able to pull back out on it, which is such a reminder of our own individual stories, bro, are the things that can change the world. They're the things that are going to matter to other people. Our little things that we don't think are very significant. Those are the things that will echo to somebody else and be that thing that challenges them to continue to carry on.
I saw that, Tyler, not only the last year when your mom invited me to go to your alma mater and see the people, and that's what inspired us to have you here. And I was watching a few nights ago as you were talking, and not only are people paying 100% attention to you, but you can see in their reactions that you are changing something, right? And so, and you even warn them in the beginning and say, if you give me the chance, we're going to connect. And you can watch it happening as I was watching it. And me too, I was, you know, when you hear, like you said, and I want you to talk about it next, I think it was a very intimate and moving conversation what we had. Something that, again, those who were able to go, I think they leave changed forever because of your experience. But I want you to be maybe gift us with a little more about how did cancer, because I mean, you know, it's a fighting for your life, but tell us more things about how cancer changes everything.
Sure. I think statistically, we are all affected by cancer. To this day, right now, everybody knows somebody who has cancer. So much so that it becomes light work to you. How many times, I think in all of our lives, how many times has someone came up to you and said, oh my gosh, I just found out that my sister has cancer. And you're like, oh man, that sucks. And in your mind, you're like, now on to the next thing, because we hear it all the time. But it is a different thing when you are the person that is sitting in an office. You go through a door that you've never experienced or seen before. You go into a room that you've never been in before. And then a person walks into that room and tells you that you have something that is going to change your life forever. And then suddenly that room that was random is no longer random. It's the place that you'll remember for the rest of your life, hearing some news that forever changed you. That door is no longer just a door. That is the door that you walked into 1 minute and then you walked out and your life was forever changed. And there are some people that have stage 4 cancer that they may get the news of, you have cancer and there's no coming back from this. Or there are people like me who, they said, you've had cancer for decades and it's going to kill you if you don't have a surgery immediately. But any way you go, when you're the person, it hits different. Mm-hmm. It's no longer your sister or your brother. You begin to go, what does this mean? You start to think to yourself, am I going to be able to see my mother again? Will I die before my parents do? I have a niece and a nephew. Although I'm an only child, I have my play cousins, my play nieces and nephews. And some of them I get to see every week. And one of the hardest things for me, which I talk about in This Changes Everything, was imagining my niece Zoe not being able to get to see her graduate from high school or go to her first prom or learn how to drive. And I remember sitting in that room thinking to myself, you know, I can handle not being here anymore. I just don't know if I can handle not being able to have the influence in the lives of the people that I care for the most. But these are the questions you begin to ask yourself and say to yourself when someone walks into a room that was an ordinary room and then it changes your life forever. But for me, because I was able to make it, because I was able to still be here, the gospel that I preach now is, if you are still here and you are still breathing, you still have the opportunity to make an impact and a difference on the world. If you woke up today with breath in your lungs, or speaking to your daughter with an extra nostril to breathe through. We can talk about that later. Then there is a place for you in this world to have an impact and to matter. And I think sometimes when you say that to people, they think, oh, I don't have the impact to go and affect the whole world or change the world maybe like you do, or I don't have 1 million people that listen to my voice or whatever. But when I say make an impact, I'm talking about making the impact in your circle, in your neighborhood, in your community. Parents come to me all the time and they say to me after reading I Take My Coffee Black, because I say in there, let's go change the world, shall we? And they'll ask me, how can I change the world? And I'm like, if you have a child, you are changing the world every single day, because I am relying on you to make sure that you don't raise a little punk. You know what I mean? I'm relying on you to make sure that you are putting love, respect, and honor into your children, because one day they're going to run the world, and I want to be able to look at them and say, you are who you are because of the brilliance of the person that raised you. So as long as you have influence and you have air in your lungs, you have the ability to change the world around you. And that's how I feel cancer has affected me.
Oh, that's awesome. Enough about the stuff that where you make a living. You know, we want to talk a little bit about the stuff that recharges you when you like coming to Vegas, I'm sure, and seeing your family. But when you're not working or volunteering in your projects, what activities, hobby, interest fill your cup and recharge you to go back and do the work?
Oh man, this is gonna sound so basic, but it's the truth. I love going to a good movie, man. Even by myself. I went to one last night. I love going and seeing live theater. My happy place is traveling to New York City, which I know everybody doesn't get to, so you can go to your own local theater touring. Going to New York City and walking to a theater and seeing the curtain raise, being surrounded by people that all get to share the same experience, getting to watch people live out their dreams. You know, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I'm a vegetarian, I don't even eat meat. So people all the time are like, you're a good time. You know? What do you do? And I'm like, look, if you give me a Coca-Cola on ice and a good, something good on television, a good TV show, a good series that I can watch or get lost into, a good book I can read. I'm reading this book right now called The Uncool by Cameron Crowe, who directed Almost Famous, which is one of my favorite movies. He also directed Jerry Maguire, all of that. Give me a Coke on ice, a good book, or something fun to watch. Because I run so much, I just want to sit back and take in whatever entertainment is in front of me. And that can be anything from a movie to a Broadway show to watching my nieces and nephews play. You know, I'll tell you this, I mean, which is really, it's hard for people to process. My thing that I am a big proponent of, and this can sometimes be hard for people that are around me, is I have very little patience for people that aren't content. And it's kind of can be a flaw. And this is what I mean by that. The way that I look at the world, this is going to make me emotional because it's just the truth. It's the day after Christmas when we're filming this. I got to come into town and meet you. And now I consider you my friend. You asked me to come back for this today. What a blessing it is that I'm healthy enough to be in the same room with you, to kick it, to meet your daughter today, your daughter's boyfriend, to share stories with you, to come off of an incredible Christmas day where I got to be with my family, eating great food with tons of gifts that we were able to pay for, and a house that is great to live in, with the ability to buy gifts for people. I am so lucky to be alive in this world right now. It is very, 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 very difficult for me to hear anybody talk about a difficult life on something that is small. And this is a flaw for me. This is what I mean. Like, if right now this block were to go out, right? And you were to look down and be like, this whole thing is ruined now because the block went out. And the only thing I'm depending on is this block to work, and this darn block doesn't work. I'm looking at you, Jaime, respectfully, and I'm going, bro, if you don't stop about this block not working,
Right.
we are alive and breathing and loving and have the opportunity to leave here and do something brilliant. This block is gonna be okay. If something goes a little wrong on your Christmas day, somebody's running a little bit late, maybe you didn't get the number one thing that you wanted. It's very difficult for Tyler Merritt to feel any pity of that, because I'm like, I almost died 5 years ago.
Right.
I'm just lucky to be in the room. Wow. That's how I feel when I'm sitting with a Coke in my hand and watching television. I'm like, I'm the luckiest person in the world right now that I get to live a life that is free, that is surrounded by love, and it gives me the opportunity tomorrow to do something great. How lucky are we? How lucky are we to be alive right now?
That's amazing, Tyler. And I know that one person, you already mentioned them earlier, today you were happy to meet the people behind the scenes, and Mike's over there because, you said, I want you seen today. And so Mike and Kim, they're usually behind the scenes, but you recognized them earlier.
Let me tell you, this camera, if you have ever watched this podcast, or you ever listened to this podcast, you need to know that this is just not one person, this is multiple people. This brand new season, we're in a brand new place and the setup is different and it's great, but over with headphones behind us is Mike, and he is helping produce this thing. And then Kim, you need to have a little moment, every moment where you acknowledge Mike. And you just say, Mike, how you doing? Mike, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Okay, y'all, just so you know, Mike is doing good. Kim, how are you?
She said peace.
She just gave a little peace sign. So I'm going to go with that's good too.
And by the way, I love that you do that because you did it that night too with the folks that were helping us with the food and beverage. You made sure that they were acknowledged and appreciated for their work, which is awesome. It tells, again, validates what I know already about your mom, and why when she looks at me, I straighten up really quickly. So.
I think there's a little bit of a spiritual piece to that where, I come from a relationship in the world spiritually where it feels incredible to be seen from the least of these, to the top of the ladder. And I remember when I was in the hospital, it was cool when the doctors came in, but I remember the name. There was a girl named Rebecca who would come in every day, and she had to clean the place I was in my room. She would empty the trash. She would wipe down the counters. And to me, she was the special one. I was like, yes, these doctors have helped change my life, but Rebecca over here, she's the one who needs to be seen. And so when seeing her every day, the very first time I ever said anything to her, I said, what's your name? And she said, me? Why do you need to know my name? She thought she was in trouble because she gets to walk around that whole hospital with nobody seeing her. Yeah. How much better would our world be if we all saw each other, bro? Wow. How better would our world be? Anyways.
That's a perfect lead to the last question, because I know that there's people that are young people that are listening to you on our audio platforms, or also watching you on the YouTube version, and they perhaps identify with you because they also grew up here in a town like this, and they also are speech and debate and theater kids like you, and they also have aspirations to a life like yours where you've overcome the barriers that life gave you, continue to overcome, and continue to be a positive change for our community, people, the world. What advice would you give somebody like that so that they can achieve their goals?
This is what I'll do. Since some people are listening, they're just going to hear it, but people that are watching, I'm going to talk to the camera. All right? So young people. Hi, young people. I'm Tyler Merritt. First thing I want to say to you is there's going to become a time period in your life where you're going to feel like your failures, or maybe the things that didn't turn out the way that you thought they were going to turn out, maybe some of the hardest moments in your life that you consider the down moments, you're going to think that those are going to be the things that are going to break you. But in reality, those hard moments, those dark moments, the moments where you felt like you failed, those are actually the things that build you. Those are the things that make you strong. Those are the things that change you. Those are the things that will make sure in the future that you are better than you used to be. Also, not only is it okay to dream, but us older folks with gray hair, we're banking on it. We're hoping that you dream. We need you to dream. We need you to say no when us older folks tell you, we don't think that that's possible, or maybe you shouldn't. You should think bigger than us. Because like I said a little earlier, the bottom floor of your most wildest dreams, that's where you should start. That's where you should start. Just know that your wildest dreams aren't too wild once you make them happen. And I'm depending on you, man. And I mean this as personally. I, Tyler, am depending on you. I'm depending on you to be the young person that figures out how to fix this cancer thing. I'm depending on you to be that young person that writes my next favorite musical, that makes the next book that I absolutely love, that begins to see your unhoused community in a brand new way and you find ways to serve them better. I want you to be the next mayor of Las Vegas so that I can come back and be like, you want to know why he's the next mayor, or she's the next mayor, they're the next mayor? It's because I did this podcast one time for Workforce Connections and they were motivated enough to be the mayor. I want to be able to say that those are my people. And so just remember, the hardest moment that you're going to have is going to be that thing that builds you up to be the strongest person you can possibly be. So there you go, young person. Keep going.
Awesome. Tyler, I couldn't have thought of a better guest for our first episode here in this new house. You've left us with a vibe that I hope we can maintain. I'm so grateful to your mom, Jerry, that, not only introduced us, but has done so much. As you can tell, this community we're building, she was there when we were starting to change things for the better. And it's been almost more than a decade journey, but I'm so proud of the work that we've done together with your mom. And I'm glad now that we have you close by too, participating. And as she said, 2026, there's going to be a lot of new things, and I hope that you can be a part of many of them as you can.
Hey, same with me. Let me say this before we go. First of all, don't forget our new segment about asking Mike how he is every episode. Yep. You ready, Mike? Uh-huh. But I just want to say this to you before we go. I mean, what you're doing is special. And sometimes when you are on the grind or you're doing that thing, you're like, it's just what I do. I wake up, I come to work the day after Christmas, and I'm just doing what I do. I want you to know that what you're doing is significant and it matters. And similar to when someone writes a book, you're doing a podcast like this, which is an add-on to what you do. This isn't the only thing you do. It's an additional thing. This is being heard all over the place. There's some person possibly in Minnesota right now who is being affected by you because you were obedient enough to do the next hard thing, the next right thing, to build the next community, to make the next thing happen. I just want to encourage you to know that we see you, man. You have people that work for you who you give them the look and they shiver a little bit. You have built something that really, really matters. And I couldn't be in this room if you wouldn't have continued to choose to build something. And so I just want to thank you for listening to that voice inside of your head that says, I need to continue to be significant in the world. And you're making a difference. So thank you for that.
Thank you, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, that's it for another episode of the WC Podcast. We hope to have you in another one. Until then, stay safe. Well, Tyler, thank you for staying over for our bonus segment called The Hot Seat. Are you ready?
I am ready. The seat is warm.
All right. This is a series of rapid fire questions that hopefully will reveal the lighter side of Tyler. So the first is called your favorites. The first section, I'm going to give you a category. You're going to give me your favorite thing in that category. Let's start with something easy. Your favorite food.
Spaghetti.
Favorite beverage with dinner.
Coca-Cola.
Favorite dessert after dinner.
Pecan pie.
Favorite way to start your day.
A shower.
Favorite way to unwind after a long day.
A shower.
Favorite hobby or weekend activity.
Walking.
Favorite vacation spot.
New York City.
Favorite holiday.
Christmas.
Favorite car you've ever owned.
Stingray C8 Corvette.
I've seen pictures. Jerry showed me pictures. Favorite college sports team.
Alabama. Roll Tide.
Favorite professional sports team.
LA Lakers. Anywhere LeBron is.
Favorite Vegas professional sports team.
The Aces.
Awesome. 3 times champs. Very good. You made it through your favorite. Second section is called Tough Choices, where hopefully you can choose one. But again, like you said, you can do both, two or none. So vacation or staycation?
Staycation.
When you go on a vacation, do you stay in a hotel or an Airbnb?
Hotel.
When you retire one day, will it be in the city or on a ranch?
City.
You have a day by yourself. Would you rather spend it by the ocean or by the mountains?
Ocean.
Starting to write a book or finishing the book?
Finishing the book.
More time or more money?
More time.
You have enough money. You told you you were joking. If you were a superhero, the ability to fly or breathe underwater?
Fly.
The ability to speak with animals or speak any foreign language?
Any foreign language.
Pick one. Truth or kindness?
Kindness.
Actions or words?
Actions.
Justice or grace?
Justice. Oh.
Here's the toughest one.
That's a hard one.
It's a hard one.
Grace.
All right. Here's the toughest one. Cannabis compliance officer or the weed queen?
The weed queen.
Me too.
My mother, the weed queen.
I love it. The third part is called, I'm in so much trouble now, Tyler. The third part is called finish the sentence. I'm going to give you about 90%. You're going to finish it for me. If you could visit any place in the world, it would be?
New York City.
Your mom, Jerry, is the very, very best because?
She loves people.
The best part about visiting Las Vegas is?
Ooh, for me, coming home.
Yep. And your favorite part about the work that you do is?
Seeing people.
If you could travel back in time, you would travel to?
Kill Hitler.
Wow. 3 words that describe you are?
Black, beautiful, and black.
I love it. 3 words that describe your mom, Jerry, are?
Ooh.
Be careful, Tyler.
Kind, driven, and deaf.
No, you're in so much trouble.
Don't worry, she didn't hear me.
Okay. And doing the WC podcast here with us today was?
Fantastic, and I would recommend it for anybody who wants to get their words out into the world.
Well, Tyler Merritt, thank you for being here with us today.